On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. In The Art of War by Sun Tzu, he talks about appearing weak when you are strong and appearing strong when you are weak. And what's really going on lately that's been catching my attention, one, there's 3 significant pushes. We've got a couple Q posts too. But significant pushes for 3 kind of key areas today I've heard in the news. Now again, appearing weak when you're strong kind of is in the whole Trump arena right now. I don't quite know what's going on. I'm reasonably sure it's for a solid reason, because typically when Trump kind of pulls back and kind of limits how much stuff he says, one, he tends to upset people less. I'm not trying to sugarcoat, let's be honest. But 2, they start making up all sorts of stuff, and it gets interesting. So, no matter what Trump does, he's going to be yelled at. He's going to be criticized. If you put too much sugar on it, you too much sugar. You put not enough sugar. You not giving up on the sugar farmers. It's like, whatever, right? It doesn't matter. He can't win. So again, a lot of us are wondering, when are these guys going to be put in jail? But I think we've got larger problems. And it's really dealing with this unfolding of the D's plan, or the deep state. When I say D, I really mean deep state. I know there's a lot of Democrats that are tied into this. There's still a lot of deep state people that are on the Republican side. So this isn't a left-to-right issue as much as a good versus evil issue. And there's a lot of very good people that have been co-opted by this evil group that are thinking that they're doing the bidding of a great democratic leadership that's always been there, since the times of slavery when they held slaves and voted against the Emancipation Proclamation, and just, pretty much have generally not supported any of the things that we kind of attribute them to being the crusaders for. It's kind of funny. It's like the opposite of what they are, really. They're not really crusaders for any of these things, yet somehow they have owned the label. Kind of like when you want a soda, a lot of times you say, give me a Coke, but you don't care if it's a Pepsi or a Shasta or a Pop, or you don't really care. Some people do, but sometimes you just want a cola, whatever the hell it is. So some of the weird things that are being pushed heavily today, of course, coronavirus cases on the rise, big time. I think Cuomo's calling out Trump. It's an opportunity finally to say some mean things about Trump. Again, giving these people plenty of opportunity to get plenty of rope and take care of their own selves. But we'll see how it plays out. New Jersey, of course, is in the news too, but around the whole pandemic, re-shutting down, pushing back on the opening, again, trying to really slow down their economy and cause even further harm to their locales. So again, it's interesting, and Trump's pretty much said for sure, look, I'm not going to go back to a lockdown. We're not doing that. It's not happening. All right, well, there's a lot of the surge of cases, but just to say, not a surge in deaths. Deaths right now are, I think, going down as far as the curve, but flat from the standpoint of they're not really going up. They keep quoting 125,000, 125,000, 125,000. I keep seeing 125,000. Now, when I go to the site I like to go to, that's I don't know what, I always forget what it's called. The U.S. Historical Data, covidtracking.com. It's supposed to be coming from all these different sites and sources. But this has been at 119,000 for a while, and so has the 125,000 number. Again, it's not growing quite as quickly as they claim, the deaths. So yes, cases are, because we're testing a whole lot of people right now, and apparently they have it. So again, big push. Also big push about the spies and commandos that warned months ago that Russian bounties on U.S. troops have been happening, apparently. Now, one thing that's interesting is Afghanistan has been quite a contentious area, historically speaking, for a long time. When the Russians were fighting in Afghanistan many, many, many years ago, it was basically their Vietnam, and we were supporting the people that were anti-Russia. So here we are now fighting people in Afghanistan, and we're all surprised that the Russians are kind of maybe possibly helping out the other side. Now, am I saying that's okay? No, but that's the same thing we did. So can we blame them for doing it? No. I would expect that they were doing it. That all being said, Trump's claiming he doesn't know about it. There's also a lot of claims that there's a huge push. McInerney was talking about it today. There's a huge push there's a huge disparagement, I think, between all the intelligence agencies, not agreeing with each other. So again, not 100% on board with whether this is legitimate or not. So again, a push. Trump didn't necessarily know about it. Got briefed today, supposedly, today being the 29th of June. So again, okay, big push on that. Like Trump doesn't know what's going on. So again, appear weak when you're strong. Because again, Trump's not coming out and punching. He's staying kind of back. And I think he's kind of letting this play. I think he's kind of letting this play back. Because frankly, his actions throughout his entire term in presidency has not been weak. He's not a weak dude. Never once, I think, have I ever felt that he's acted weak. In fact, probably a little more provocative than I'd like sometimes. But on the whole, definitely not weak. So it should scare the deep state when he gets quiet like this. And so they start throwing all this stuff out there. And it's probably because they know what's coming, or they probably know that they need to keep the attack on, because right now the polls, which is the third thing, the polls are showing that it's working. Well, I mean, yeah, okay. One, they're the polls. So, okay, sure. Two, the questions they ask sometimes are kind of weird. Like, if the president was a fruit, would he be an apple or a pear? And people would be like, well, Trump's a pear. And some would say Trump's an apple. And then the press would spin that as, see, everyone thinks he's a fruit. So, again, the way the questions are asked, and mine's very hyperbolic because I can't think of a better excuse or example, whatever. But what jumps out at me, as a lot of these polls, names you've probably heard of, here's Rasmussen, I've heard of them, RNG Research, Public Policy Polling, that's a nice alliteration for you, Susquehanna Polling, what else we got down here, YouGov, Trafalgar, we've got more Rasmussen, Marist College, Kaiser Family Foundation, Climate Nexus, YouGov, Marist again, Harris X, right? So a bunch of different places. Now, when we scan down these sample size, you'll notice 1,500, 1,200, 1,900. We got 9,000 down here somewhere. 9,087. So these are the sample sizes that all these polls represent. Now, first off, I don't know if they call different people, but it's certainly not a very large group of the population. And if you think about the number of people that actually have time to do a survey, or can, for that matter, I work in media, I'm not allowed to, neener. But for those that can, think about who they represent. Think about who a lot of the people are that are voicing this. And so many people right now are leaning on this like this is gospel. Like this just, like God just parted the Red Seas again. And in the middle of it was this Rasmussen pole that was glittering gold and shiny. And they looked at it and they said, everyone hates Trump. Oh, and the angels sing. But the reality of it is, no, it was like 1,200 people. There was no parting of the Red Sea. It was a puddle at a playground that a kid jumped in, splashed all of his friends, and laughed. So there was your parting of the sea. Again, not a lot of people. But they use this to make it sound like everybody is voting against Trump. And so people on the right, one, are a little confused right now. They're like, what is going on? Like, am I on the wrong train? And I think what it comes down to is there's this push for the voice. And a lot of the voice that we hear are all the people on the deep state side, supporting the deep state, we'll call it that. I don't want to just say the left, because that's, I don't think, totally fair. But the deep state side. Now, all these people on the deep state side are supporting this and very chatty. And the reason is because anybody that comes out and says anything to the contrary, just even slightly, like, oh, I agree with 90% of what you're saying, I just don't think the same thing on this small part. Oh, you're a climate denier, or you're a this, or you're a racist, or you're a sexist, or, huh? No, I mean, I agree. Yeah, no, huh? What? And so, because of that, people aren't really voicing their anti-opinions, are they? A lot of us are getting smart about who we talk to, and it's giving them a false sense of security. And I think that false sense of security actually is a huge benefit for what's really going on. And I kind of think that's why Trump is playing it back a little bit right now. Again, not saying he's right. I don't know. I am not like the dude to be, on the quarterback going, on the couch going, all right, well, I should have ran a play back and then carved back about 2. No. I mean, they're doing it. They're doing what they're doing. There's military intelligence involved. So things are moving in a direction, but don't let what the press says necessarily weaken your heart, per se. There's more going on than a lot of us realize, and sometimes the silence is not necessarily a bad thing, as much as I think a lot of us getting smart about who we say what to. And also realizing you kind of, to a degree, have to be careful a little bit who you say this stuff to. So it's a powerful thing that's going on. So where we left off, 4536, and thank God I got 4535 out of the way. That was a super long one. But 4536, I've got a Twitter article here that's pretty cool. If the news is untrustworthy, corrupt, controlled, and simply an extension or arm of the D Party, how do you circumvent the controlled lines of comms, or how do you get around the propaganda that basically exists, the 4 a.m. news points that they frequently talk about? How do you communicate directly with the people? How do you sidestep? Back channels, as they frequently have brought up in many Q posts, back channels are super important. Information is warfare, or information warfare. Information is weapon or weaponry in an information warfare, which is what's going on. So right now, knowledge is power. And there's a lot of knowledge being shared in a lot of different places. And although they're blocking some people here and blocking some people there or whatever, fact of the matter is not everybody is being blocked. They can't. It would be too obvious. And I'm not 100% sure. I think really it's truly people that get carried away. People I've heard of getting blocked. Some of the stuff they say is a bit outlandish. You've got to be careful what you say. I had an FCC license at one point, back when you actually had to get licensed. And there's certain things you are not allowed to say. War of the Worlds was part of that. For those of you that maybe haven't heard, something to look up back in the past. Guy did a broadcast and everybody started panicking because they thought aliens would landed in their city. People are easy to panic. They learned a lot back during that time about how propaganda works. Also, Russians and communists and Koreans have also learned a lot about how propaganda works and how to use it and manipulate people. People are surprisingly easy to manipulate. So again, those of us that are red-pilled or waking up or just coincidentally happen to be on the right at this point in time, it's the knowledge, it's the understanding of what's actually going on. It's that deeper picture that really comes into play. So what's interesting is a couple of years ago, there was a discussion around Twitter. What's going on here? Around Twitter, Q proofs coming. And there was one that jumped out, and there's a bunch of them now. This has changed a lot since I originally pulled up the site. But the one that really caught me was very cool. Was on June 20th, apparently this year, even though you can't tell from this page, but I'm guessing that's what this worked out to, because this was posted on that date, 6/20/18 2020. So right, we've got this confirmation. Look for more direct Q POTUS confirmations, markers, proofs. Here's supposedly Eric Trump posting something on his Instagram. Look at this. Who's ready for a Trump rally tonight? Look at that. Big giant Q hidden. The funny thing is I looked at this thing a bunch of times before I finally saw the friggin' Q. How sad is that? So, okay, hey, some stuff's happening. Another thing that's kind of interesting that was brought up in 4537, referencing an older post, 3957. When does the NDA expire regarding the Drudge Report website sale to a foreign entity? I think the 2020 election, post-election by one day, is basically what they're saying here. Removal or blackout is coming of pro-POTUS accounts. They've already seen this coming. A lot of us could potentially go dark overnight. You'll have to look for some additional new channels coming. As the channels are smaller, I think they're harder to see, but still can be found, but certainly harder to see. But things are going to be coming. They've talked about backup channels. They've talked about all these different things. Just make sure you're doing the same thing. Make sure you're looking for this information. It will find its way out. There are other sites for videos. You got things like BitChute. What was the other one that I was a part of that was very conservative? Drawing a blank. If I can remember, I'll try to put it in the links below. I've actually got a link, so I'll be able to remember it, but I just can't at the moment. So pay attention to what's happening. These things are coming. Blackouts are coming. And so when does the COVID-19-2 MS-DNC fear push end? Literally the day after the election. Literally the day after the election. No matter what happens, no matter who wins, suddenly COVID is going to either go away, somehow all the numbers are going to start looking better. Suddenly there's going to be a virus or some sort of shot you can get. There's some treatment that's perfect. Somehow it's not going to matter anymore. We are truly watching the Democratic Party death spiral. There's even discussions from the Black Lives Movement talking about how the Democratic Party doesn't properly speak for the black lives, for all black lives. And so because of that, they're talking about maybe splitting off and forming their own party. Well, that would be catastrophic to the Democrat Party. To literally lose that segment of the vote, it'd be done for them. Wouldn't benefit the Republicans any, but certainly would be crushing to the Democrats. 4538, another Chinese special delivery. Now, some would think, hey, cool, what electronic goodies are coming that are cheap? Well, that's the olden days. No, new days now. We get different presents from China now. And not the good kind of pork like bacon or yummy pork belly that you get in your delicious stir fry if you know how to really make some yummy food. But no, flu viruses. Now, the best part about a flu virus in a pig, sarcasm intended, is the fact that pigs are pretty much almost identical to humans as far as this sickness is passing. In fact, a lot of us, when we get the insulin, right? Some of us are diabetic. You get insulin. A lot of times it's pig insulin. That's where they farm it from because we get along great with pigs. The hearts, when we get transplants, oftentimes it's a pig heart. Wonder why people that get transplants are constantly rooting around in the mud. Makes sense, right? Now you get it. So again, pigs have a very similar kind of thing that we do, right? So again, they're sending us new sickness. This is the newest one, the H1N-PDM-09 pandemic. Now there's just PDM, right? Now they're numbering which pandemic they're on. They're like, oh, we've made 9 of them so far. Let's see how this one works. So again, we're numbering the PDMs. I'm assuming that's pandemic. Now, I mean, it could stand for something better, I hope, but whatever. Call it what you want. So yeah, getting more yummy gifts that keep on giving from those wonderful Chinese. Thanks, guys. Love you. And of course, when you think of Biden, you think pro-China, anti-Russia. And then when you think, Trump, you think, oh, he's in bed with Russia and hates China. Ooh, can't have that, right? Who's the real problem? China, man. Come on. I mean, Russia maybe. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to downplay Russia, but they are not the superpower. They are not the size. They are not the volume of money. Like, Russia's gotten beat up pretty hard over the past number of years. Yeah, they still got some amazing technology, still got some dangerous weapons, and are definitely still continuing to create advanced energy weapons and all sorts of crazy stuff. So yes, they are some people that we need to contend with, but I don't think they're as evil as everyone's trying to paint them as. I have a hard time when all of a sudden we're creating the new Red Dawn movie because we want to make the Ruskies the enemy again. It's like my whole life growing up, they've always been the enemy. I've worked with Russian people. I've known a lot of people that are Russian. I've known a lot of people from Eastern Europe. There's a lot of great people over there, and they don't all seem to hate everybody. So, anyway, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But there's a lot that is occurring right now. So no new Q posts at the moment. A lot going on. Remember, things are going to be changing. They definitely are aware of this movement. This movement's getting traction and causing a lot of problems. The one argument that so many people bring up, and I think it's a good one, why are they all of a sudden picking this conspiracy theory to make a big darn deal about? This Q movement. It's just a conspiracy theory. It's a bunch of crap. These people are crazy. They talk about aliens that come down and eat people's souls and eat children or some crazy thing that is, the reptilians got into whatever, right? Whatever crazy stuff they got it lined up to. Fact of the matter is, it's not. It's not crazy like that at all. We got a lot of very significant people coming into play here. We've got military planning happening. We've got a number of places where the information has proven itself over time. There is a lot that's been coming together through this movement, this where we go one, we go all, this unification, this Anons who are looking up information, who are going back to the Wayback Machine and looking at stuff that people have said is not true. There's an information war that's happening. We're very much winning. And they've trying to shut down this conspiracy theory because it's dangerous. It's not because it's a conspiracy theory. It's not because it's hooey. It's because it's dangerous. UFOs, conspiracy theorists, they don't care. Those are all over the place. In fact, the truth is finally going to come out, frankly, let's be honest. Bigfoot, major conspiracy theories. Stuff's all over the place. They don't care. What about Loch Ness Monster? What about all sorts of different conspiracy theories? But the one they're worried about is this Q thing because it's actually making a difference. Right, wrong, or indifferent, maybe we're all the crazy ones, happy to fall on that sword. But I'll tell you what, I don't want to be like everybody else and just like a zombie walk through life. Remember, we're here to make a difference. Remember, we're patriots. And remember to love your fellow Americans. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.